What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I have a really cool video here. What we're gonna do today is modify our 5th gen 4Runner. We're gonna be trimming our rocker guards to make our vehicle look more lifted, give ourselves better ground clearance, and also allow us to possibly fit rock sliders if we'd like to. So the 4Runner Limited has a lot of extra plastic on the side. There's about 4 inches of plastic that just hangs down, makes your vehicle look low to the ground, doesn't give you good clearance, and doesn't allow you to bolt up rock sliders that would typically fit on the SR5 or TRD Pro or TRD Off Road models. There is a solution to this. You can buy the SR5 or TRD Pro rocker panel guards, pop these ones out, pop those on, but they're super expensive. Toyota is the only one that makes them. Shockworks had a solution. They had something similar that would bolt on the side to kind of replace these 4Runner Limited guards, but Shockworks has gone out of business. It still was expensive through Shockworks. It was like $400 US, but today I'm gonna show you how to do it for free if you have all the tools. It's a pretty easy thing to do. I'll take you through the whole process, and then our vehicle is gonna look much more lifted. It's still gonna look factory, and we'll be able to fit those sliders on that would fit on all those other models. So let's jump into the job and I'll show you how easy it is. Let's do it. All right, so here's everything you'll need for the job. We have a Phillips head screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, a 10mm ratchet. This stuff we'll be using to remove our rocker. Then we'll be marking it with a paint marker, some tape, measuring everything with a tape measure. You'll need a drill. This drill has an 11/64 bit on it. Any sort of bit around that range should be fine. And then we have our Dremel, and these are our Dremel bits here. This is a grinding wheel. This is specifically designed for plastic. It's the EZ476, and there's the head for it. This just clips right onto here on our Dremel. Very nice stuff, works really well. And then just some stuff to kind of smoothen over, make it look pretty at the end. This isn't 100% necessary, but I did this. This is some 60 grit sandpaper just to really grind down the rockers and then smooth it out with some of this paper. You don't need this exact sander. You could use any sort of sander. All right, so we're now ready to take off our panel here, our rocker panel. What I've done is I've gone ahead and just cleaned this up a little bit. We're gonna be putting, a marker on there and some tape and that sort of thing, so you don't want any dirt on there. Another good thing to do is to put down a blanket just to protect the paint. Once you pop the clips off, this thing will probably fall on the ground. We're now ready to remove it, so let's jump into how you get this off. It's super easy, let's do it. All right, so let's start with the front mud flap. What I did is I turned my steering wheel all the way to the right. That moved my tire in, and it gave me some space here to take out these fasteners. So we have a 10mm here, we'll take that one out. You'll also have another 10mm over here. I've already removed that one. And you'll need your Phillips head screwdriver. Just unscrew here. Great. So our mud flap is now off. All right, now coming from the back tire, right in here you'll have a little 10mm. Great, and so we've opened up our back door here and we have this Phillips head screw. Now there is just 2 of these. Great, and if we open up our front door here, we have another one. So just 2 in total. All right, so with the Phillips head screws removed, the rear 10mm and the mud guard at the front, we should be able to start removing this. We'll go to the front and the wheel well and just kind of pull it around. It will unclip, then there's just a bunch of clips in here and it should just pop right out. So let's do that right now. All right, so on the back of our rocker panel here, we're gonna get rid of all this stuff, this metal and crap like that, because we have to start cutting this and we don't want all this bulk in the back. So we'll use some pliers like this and we'll just push these little fasteners in while pulling the metal away. I think even a flathead screwdriver and just push in each side while pulling up might even be the easiest way to do this. And I might just actually come in and clean this. This is just full of mud. I'll probably take it outside and just quickly spray it off. All right, so we're now ready to remove this reinforcement plastic back here. But before I start with doing that, what I'm gonna do is just, if you flip this over, these have this big long chrome strip on here. I'm gonna remove this just because I wanna paint this black. It just stands out too much, and with the rock sliders there, I don't think it'll look good. So let's take this out first. And to do that, we'll use a flathead screwdriver. Little tab here, we'll just push down on it, and then we just slide this clip out. As easy as that. And then you'll have a couple little tabs to kind of push down on the chrome parts here. Yeah, so the chrome itself has its own little tabs built in to these things, and you have to push them down and then they'll slide out. Now, this whole bottom piece of plastic has some reinforcement here just because it's a huge piece of plastic that's hanging down, so it needs something to give it rigidity. We're cutting this out, so we don't need the rigidity there. We don't need the reinforcement anymore. So the way to actually remove this piece of reinforcing plastic is to take a drill and put an 11/64 drill bit on the end. I'll put that up on the screen, and you'll have these kind of little clips in here. And what we'll do is we'll just drill those out with that drill bit. Once you drill it out, it's completely gone and the plastic is loose. And you'll have some more of them up here that you'll need to drill out too. Same thing, just take your drill bit. There's a little hole there, it's almost like a pilot hole you can drill into. And the nice thing about removing this chrome is if we drill through, we're not gonna jab into our chrome with our drill bit here because we've removed that chrome. Great, so I've drilled out all of those rivets and now this reinforcing piece will just come right out. Great, and now we just have our rocker panel here now. So we can start measuring, doing our measurements here on what plastic we're gonna remove, which is pretty much all of it. So this part here is pretty ugly. Without our rocker guard on, our rocker guard actually covers this up. On the SR5 models, the TRD Pros, there's an actual cap that goes on here. So what I want to do is just basically trim our rocker guard to cover this up. I don't want it going any lower. I want my vehicle to look more lifted and want to have more clearance. So using my measuring tape, I'll leave about, so if I do 3 3/4, that should cover it up nicely. I'll come down now and on my panel down here, my rocker, I'll mark 3 3/4 down from the top. All right, so now let's get some measurements for where our bar here starts and where this has to stop. Let's say 8.5 inches. All right, so we need to figure out how much of this rocker panel we're gonna have showing from here. Now, here's the bottom of the door, and I measured before, there is a 1/4 inch gap here before the rocker panel starts. So I'm gonna do 1.25 inches of material between here to here, just 1.25 inches. That will give us enough room for that chrome that we're gonna black out. So I'm happy I'm blacking that out because there's just gonna be a tiny strip of chrome that would look weird, especially above sliders. So I'm also gonna come to the back here just in case, just to make sure that it's consistent. So yeah, it looks like I'd wanna bring it to 1.5 inches here. That would give me a little bit of room, but of course we're factoring in that there's a gap of 1/4 inch, so 1.25 inches is all we're gonna do. Okay, so coming to the back of the vehicle here, here's our back tire. We wanna know how much material to leave in here. You know, if you didn't have these sliders, if your slider started over here, you'd probably wanna leave more material, then kind of come up and then angle around your sliders. I'm just gonna leave it pretty much straight along here. All right, so coming back to the front here, we want to make kind of a smooth transition here. So this kind of comes down as nice and rounded. So it looks like it flows nicely. Get like a big paint lid or something like this. So we'll just kind of put this here and we'll just draw. In order to get a nice straight edge for cutting, I'm going to use some tape. And I'll just line my tape up with the dots. And I have my nice curve here. This is gonna look really good. All right, so I was gonna cut up here, but I've decided to remove more material. I'll just basically cover that ugly part at the front, and then as soon as that part is covered up, this is the front tire here. There's that stuff that's showing. I'm gonna do my cut. It's gonna come up, round up, over, and along that edge. So this is gonna be the trickiest part because of all these angles. So what we'll have to do is make some relief cuts. So all this plastic down here is coming off, so we can make relief cuts along here. That way, once we go to do this angle, we'll have room for our Dremel and our bit to move along this edge, and we can kind of make a rounded cut. So let's do that right now. Great, and there we go. We kind of have a smooth edge running along here. What we'll do is we'll refine this edge by using our 80 grit sandpaper on our wheel and just kind of working it to get rid of these little spots where I went a little bit too far. But now we'll use a bigger grinding disc and go along this straight line here, and we'll cut off this part here. So for the first slider, I used a 3-inch disc to grind along the tape edge. The next one, I actually just used the Dremel for it. The Dremel works pretty good if you just go slow and focus on the line and just take your time. I later on sanded down the edge, just kind of refined out any imperfections. I used a smaller sanding disc on the Dremel, and that worked quite well for taking out any imperfections. All right, so after a bit of sanding, you can see this edge is really nice and smooth. I'll take some paint thinner, and what I'll do is I'll get rid of all these yellow dots here and any leftover kind of remnants of the paint. Yeah, super impressed with that. Now what we'll do is just paint these trim pieces, put them back in here, and now bolt this on the vehicle and see how it looks. So what I did with the trim pieces is I sanded them down with 400 grit sandpaper. After that, I hit them with a wax and grease remover, and then applied a couple layers of primer. After that, I laid on some base coat. I actually ended up having some matched base coat to the same color as my vehicle, so I actually didn't use black base coat. After those layers of base coat, I did clear coat. I actually put on about 3 or 4 layers of clear coat just because it's a high traffic area. This gave it a nice gloss and will also protect that area. I then attached the trim back onto my rocker guards. All right, so we're now ready to pop in our newly modified rocker cover. Let's do that now. I'll probably have to open up the doors here. Oh, I like the way that's looking. We'll check that out. Of course, the rest of the car is pretty dirty. But man, that looks good. We'll put those 2 screws in under the doors. Wow, I'm really impressed with how that looks. That looks really cool. Perfect, so everything's secured the way it was before. Man, that looks factory. That just looks so good. All right, guys, so that looks amazing. I'm super happy with how that turned out. It looks factory. The vehicle looks much higher up off the ground. I know I can fit those rock sliders that would typically fit on the SR5, TRD Pro, TRD Off Road models. The only thing is, if you're gonna put rock sliders on a 4Runner Limited that's designed for the SR5 TRD Pro, make sure you have your xreas system removed and just a new suspension system put in. The xreas runs along the frame rails and you won't be able to bolt them up in the same spot. I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, please like and subscribe. I hope to come up with a lot more videos and always appreciate your guys' support. Hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye now.